All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're recording. Welcome to a new video. This is going to be kind of just a random rant of sorts. Got some stuff I want to talk about, but let's dive right into it. When I was in my early 20s, after a lifetime of searching for the truth, I wanted to know if there was something more to being human. I always felt like the lives that we were living were more of, something akin to or similar to a slave. I always felt like there was something being hidden from us. I felt like even at a young age, my mind was being suppressed, that there was some type of overarching evil in the world or some type of control system that was seeking to keep human consciousness in a very limited bandwidth of expression, of awareness. And after years of searching for the truth and trying to uncover if, there was more to life, if there was something, out there that could potentially make us more intelligent. I at a young age, essentially, what I'm trying to say is at a young age, I became obsessed with the idea of human enlightenment. I became obsessed with the possibility that within our cognitive structure, within our physiology, within our bodies, within our minds, within our overall template, our blueprint as humans, we had the potential to become more. We had the potential to perform superhuman abilities, that maybe, just maybe, we had the ability to do things like telepathy or telekinesis, that we had the ability to do things as far-fetched and crazy sounding as levitating, flying, breathing underwater, walking through walls, bilocating, communicating with animals, communicating with spirits, communicating with, trees. All things have electromagnetic fields, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get into that in maybe later on in the video, because that's really important when it comes to communicating with plants or animals. You do so through the electromagnetic field, the resonance of the electromagnetic field, but that can only take place when the human aura is brought back online. And that can only take place through the Kundalini rising. But after a lifetime pretty much of searching, I discovered the truth. I had a handful of Kundalini awakenings, Kundalini experiences in my early 20s. That brought me up to speed with what we were supposed to be experiencing here in this world, ladies and gentlemen. It took me out of my slave consciousness and took my metaphysical antennas and put them in their upright positions. I was allowed to see past my conditioned blinders. The Kundalini does this, ladies and gentlemen, by reawakening the electrical pathways in the human physiology. The Kundalini moves through all of the 33 vertebrae of the human spine, the 33 steps on the stairway to heaven. It moves through the ganglia and reawakens all of the churches of God, the true churches of God, which are specific regions within the cerebral spinal system, ladies and gentlemen, that house the chakras, or chakras as many people call it. These energy vortexes are very real. There's a lot of misinformation out there on the web about them. There's a lot of fluff, hippity-dippity bullshit. But regardless of all that, the chakra churches, the 7 primary churches of God, are indeed real. There's biblical references to this. There's, even in the book of Revelation, there's all sorts of holy text that has been written, which if you read it with an open mind and an open heart, and if you read it in a non-literal way, and if you are able to look at it for its symbolic value and its metaphoric value, you might be able to actually see deeper into scripture and see that there's a lot of references to the Kundalini energy, especially in the book of Revelation. But Kundalini allowed me to see it allowed me to see past my blinders, and it did so by bringing my body and my mind, my consciousness up to speed with with the truth. The truth is that, ladies and gentlemen, we exist. We're limited. Our senses are limited to our 5 senses, and we are only able to see and interact with and experience a very small percentage of the electromagnetic spectrum. Kundalini takes that little percentage of the whole. Imagine if the electromagnetic spectrum, for instance, was 12 inches. Let's just look at it symbolically. It was 12 inches long. And this was the entire electromagnetic spectrum, And within that range, there's this like 1 centimeter, half a centimeter value that's that humans are plugged into out of the whole 12 inches. Now, we exist in that half centimeter framework, and because of that, we exist within a very limited bandwidth of the truth. When Kundalini moves through your system, and when it actually, the purifying rising fire of the phoenix, the rising serpents, move through your cerebral spinal system and awaken, nourish, and bring the bells of the 7 primary churches of God and reawaken all the nerves and the ganglion positions. And there's so many very hyper advanced aspects to Kundalini within the physiology, relating to the Cossacks, the coccygeal church, the cauda equina, various parts of the spine. When the Kundalini energy moves through through the cerebral spinal system, ladies and gentlemen, it awakens the consciousness in ways that would blow your mind as it rises up and rings the bell of each church, which is just a metaphor that I use to explain the awakening of that particular chakra, the awakening of the church, the ringing of the bells. Because when the Kundalini fire moves through a chakra, ladies and gentlemen, it stimulates and awakens the chakra by reinvigorating it with life force to the point where it actually starts to vibrate and produce a harmonic resonance. These are the true church bells ringing, the harmonic resonance, the vibratory resonance, the frequency of all of these chakras. And when all 7 of the primary chakras, the 7 churches of God, are illuminated and reawakened, you now have a conglomeration of all of these frequencies that produce an effect, it produces a tremendous effect on, it's what awakens your aura, ladies and gentlemen, these frequencies. These frequencies, when they start to ring, when the bells do ring, it's what contacts the angelic aethers as well. And that's why many people who experience true, authentic Kundalini experiences, they are accompanied, once the energy gets into the head and they can see through, their first eye, so to speak, if you want to call it that, when their consciousness is united, when the Kundalini bridges all the schisms in an individual's mind, consciousness, heart, soul, body, etc., you are allowed to see the truth. You can see now past the blinders of the electromagnetic spectrum, and many people are visited by angels. It's because this process, Kundalini, is the process of God moving through your system, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. So anyone who wants to try to get on my channel and tell me that Kundalini is evil or that it's a false spirit, clearly you've never experienced it. And clearly you shouldn't act like a spokesperson for this energy and spread misinformation, because it makes you look like a fool to the people who have actually been blessed and touched by this energy, which is nothing more than the energy, the evolutionary energy of life itself. It's God energy, folks. It exists within our system. It can be woken up. The system has erected a system, however, where it seeks to keep this energy from rising, because by doing that, by keeping you in a conditioned state of mind, by keeping your chakras pretty much dead, so to speak, by keeping hardly any life force in your system, by keeping you in a state of pretty much spiritual narcolepsy, or it's like you're pretty much 90% asleep, they can use you as a slave. They can feed off of your energy. They can use you to, they can put you into positions where, I don't even want to get into that. I've talked about how the Archon feeds on our energetic field in recent videos. I don't want to get into that in this video. But the Earth has become an energy farm, and that's why we are kept in these conditioned states of consciousness where we're constantly stressed or worrying, or, if you looked at the average individual's electromagnetic field, you would see that there's a lot of leakages. The energy is spilling out. The electromagnetic field, or the aura of the average human, is severely weakened, broken. It's like a spaceship that's barely holding on. And there's particular energies that feed on the leakages of our energy. Human energy is a fuel source. You just don't know that because, again, you live in that tiny little spectrum of the whole electromagnetic spectrum. If you could see past your blinders and really wake up, you would realize that there are entities and energies around us all the time that are both malevolent and benevolent. If your blinders were removed and you could see further into the electromagnetic spectrum, you would realize that there are all sorts of geometric shields and different forms of light around your hands, around your body. There's a literal, like a cocoon around you that has multiple layers of energy, subtle energy, that connects you to what I call the God grid. It connects you to life itself. Our electromagnetic field, or these layers of energy, are our aura, ladies and gentlemen. It's a conglomeration of energy that holds our protoplasm together. It holds all of our atoms and our cells together. It's like the scaffolding, or it's like the substructure or the main structure of your home, the walls, the framing. It keeps everything inside. It's your true shelter. And Kundalini moves through your system, awakens the chakras. These chakras begin to resonate at specific frequencies. They start spinning, and it reawakens, enlivens these layers of our electromagnetic field, and it allows us to actually see them. You see, right now, the average person worldwide will go their entire life never being able to see or glimpse these very beautiful parts of their human body. And these subtle energy fields are a part of our human body, just like our fingers are, our thumbs, our tongue, you name it. And just because something isn't real doesn't mean that you can't see it. Or excuse me, that made no sense. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. I mean, can you see my breath right now as I'm breathing? Doesn't mean it's not real. There are a handful of things that cannot be seen that are very, very real. And just because you can't see it now doesn't mean that you can't actually see it, because there are certain states of consciousness that you can reach that allow you to go past your blinders, and you can actually take in more information from the electromagnetic spectrum through your photoreceptors, through your senses, you name it. Some of this stuff may sound kind of complicated, but what is the gist of the story here? Or what am I trying to get at here, folks? This camera makes me look like a pale zombie, of this light. I brought all this stuff up because I was saying at the beginning of this video that in my early 20s, I had these experiences, and the energy that I had held on to my entire life, that up until that point, that feeling that there was something more to life, was in the blink of an eye proven to me that yes, there is much more to life than what we are currently experiencing, ladies and gentlemen. There's much more to life than what we are currently experiencing. We were not designed to live these types of lifestyles, regardless of what you may think, and regardless of how much that may conflict with your belief systems. It's important not to identify too strongly with anything, because if you identify too strongly with anything, it can make it very difficult for you to accept or even consider new information that contradicts your belief systems. Beliefs can be incredibly dangerous. Beliefs can ruin lives. Beliefs can ruin lives. They can also enhance lives as well. But what the fuck? What have they done to humanity here, ladies and gentlemen? We were designed to be so much more. And I'm going to keep repeating this on my videos because I find it very fascinating. As an alchemist myself, as a philosopher, I find it exceedingly interesting that we as humans are exhibiting a very small fraction of our true potential. And this is due to something that Carlos Castaneda talked about in many of his books. It's something called the assemblage point. The assemblage point is very real, regardless of whether people think Carlos's books are authentic, regardless of whether or not people think Don Juan Matus, the Yaqui Indian sorcerer, was a real individual or just some fake made-up character. It doesn't matter. The information that he taught Carlos in those books are true, regardless. It's deep shamanic wisdom. And one of those pieces of shamanic wisdom that was very, very true in his books, and that really stuck out to me when I first read, especially his book, The Art of Dreaming, was when Carlos talked about Don Juan teaching him about the assemblage point. The assemblage point is crucial for anyone to research if they're interested in understanding how mind control works. The assemblage point is critical because the assemblage point dictates how our perception stays locked or fluid, ladies and gentlemen. And what I mean by that is most people's assemblage point, and the assemblage point is something that I detail and talk about extensively on my Patreon page. So if you're interested, check the links below. I talk about it in detail on my Patreon page. But the assemblage point in layman's terms is a part of our electromagnetic energetic field, our aura, that dictates how our perception operates. It dictates the amount of information that we can handle. It dictates how open our minds are. It dictates how much of the electromagnetic spectrum we can interact with. And it dictates how far our consciousness can go past our blinders. It dictates how much of the fourth dimension we can interact with. It has a lot to do with Kundalini. It's a very complicated subject, and I don't want to get too detailed about it in this video, folks. But I will say that the assemblage point is a part of our electromagnetic field that's connected to something outside of our electromagnetic field called the God grid. The God grid is a hyper-dimensional, infinite, immortal grid of energetic living filaments that are all aware of one another. Again, I'm not going to get into detail about it in this video. I don't want to talk about that. I've talked about it extensively on my Patreon page, and I'll talk about it more in the near future, but I want to try to keep this video under 30 minutes. The assemblage point can move, ladies and gentlemen, and it can position itself in different positions based on things like trauma, trance states, Kundalini awakenings, you name it. So our assemblage point now, as a collective here in the United States and worldwide, our assemblage point has been fixed due to mind control, due to how we grew up, due to a number of different factors. It's been fixed in a very specific location within our electromagnetic luminous cocoon, our aura. And based on its position and how it's been so fixed there, we stay in a very limited state of mind. We have a lot of difficulty exiting our normal way of thinking and accepting new radical forms of information that are beneficial. Hope this makes sense. It dictates how our perception, it's like a governor on a vehicle, folks. A governor on a vehicle, for those who don't know, is a little piece, I believe it's in the motor, or maybe it's some type of electrical thing. But what it does is it keeps the car from being able to go past a certain mile per hour. My mom's Honda had one. It would only go up to like 105. If the governor was removed, it could go past 105. It dictates how far the car can go in terms of speed. The same could be said about the assemblage point on the human energetic field. It dictates how far our perception can go. It dictates how much of the truth we can actually perceive and interact with. It dictates how enlightened we can become, ladies and gentlemen. And the Matrix is aware of this. The Archon overlords are aware of this. So they seek to keep your assemblage point in a very fixed position. And you participate in the solidifying of the position of your assemblage point through your actions, through your biases, through your rigid belief systems that oftentimes have no grounding in reality. People hold on to belief systems that are completely irrational and completely like the diametric opposite of the truth. What good does that do for you? Believing things that aren't true. That's called being superstitious. Keep your mind open, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your fucking mind open. So there's a lot of problems here, folks, aren't there? And the assemblage point is a very real thing, and I know this predicated upon my first full-blown Kundalini experience. It ripped my assemblage point from its fixed position and put it into a completely different space or region within my electromagnetic field, and it allowed me to experience Kundalini. The Kundalini, how do you think it works, ladies and gentlemen? It works by completely dismantling structures that are keeping your Kundalini, as it rises, it forcibly removes locks on your electromagnetic field. It removes blockages in your system. And it does so at the expense of rearranging various parts of your, not only your physical body, but your electromagnetic field, your aura, Kundalini takes your assemblage point and puts it into a completely new position. And when it's put into a new position, you see reality in a completely different way, ladies and gentlemen. And you start to, when the Kundalini moves the assemblage point to a new position, you start to experience the massive release of endogenous tryptamines. You start tripping like you're on DMT. You start to see tracers, when you move your hand, you start to see how divine and intimate and absolutely complicated mathematically and how geometrically and complicated reality is. There are auras around everything, ladies and gentlemen. There are electromagnetic fields around everything. It's like the end of the Tool song, Parabola. The Kundalini moves through the bottom of his feet, rewires all of his meridians. Watch the video Parabola by Tool. The energy moves up the man's cerebral spinal system, awakens all of the dormant nerve centers, nerve clusters, ganglion points, reawakens all of the chakras, the true churches of God, moves into the throat, goes past the throat, swims into the head, and now he is experiencing the ancestral plane. It's like there's so much information dropped in that video. Everybody needs to watch that. Everybody needs to start listening to Tool. It's a tool. It's called Tool for a reason. You can use it as a tool. It's a spiritual tool. I'm going to talk more about that band in the near future. Incredible stuff. But where the hell was I going with that? Now, the assemblage point, when the Kundalini moves, it moves into a radically different position, and you start to experience reality in a completely different way, because it dictates how much light is taken into your electromagnetic field. It dictates the assemblage point filters multiple different filaments, energetic filaments, and condenses them. And then it comes into your system and allows you to perceive in a specific way. Some of this stuff may not make sense. I apologize if it doesn't. Please check my Patreon page out if you're interested in learning more. However, the Kundalini moves the assemblage point into a new position. Due to our mind control, however, and how much we adore and cling to our typical day-to-day consciousness, and due to how much of our life we've allowed our typical way of looking at reality, and how much we've identified with our ego, which is just the false self. We'll talk about the ego in a minute. Once the Kundalini moves the assemblage point, it can only stay there for short periods of time, because the grasp of its old location, the assemblage point wants to move to its old location, because all of this information that you're experiencing is so hyper complicated. When you experience Kundalini, it's so outside of the box of what's normal to you that you begin to question it. You begin to almost not necessarily freak out, but again, it's like there's a huge schism now between your old self, where the assemblage point was in a fixed position, and the new self, the true self, the enlightened self. You start to experience a tug of war between the old position of the assemblage point and the new position, and eventually you just the new position goes right back to the old position, and you return to your normal consciousness. This is very common with people who experience Kundalini awakenings. It's very uncommon for people to fully awaken it and allow it to stay within their system 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I've never met a person who could do this, or who has done this. Please let me know if you have, because there's a good chance that they aren't. Anyone can say that they're enlightened. Anyone can say that they have their Kundalini awakening, but I know you're a charlatan. I know that you're a phony. I know that you're a fake, because if you were truly enlightened, you'd be able to perform what are known as the siddhis or the siddhas. You'd be able to move things with your mind. You'd be able to move things with your eyes. There would be things that you could do that are considered impossible by mainstream science, which is a huge problem. It's amazing how much the school system has programmed us to look at life in a very specific way, through the scientific lens, through the rational lens. You've created cognitive structures that totally ruin your life, that keep you from ever being able to experience more, or what else is out there. And you think that you know it all. You think that, I went to college. I went to school. I got a degree. I'm so smart. My husband is a doctor. He is so smart. And what he told me was the total opposite of what you're saying. And there's no such thing as enlightenment. We should go live in an ashram. You're a hippie. No, I'm a realist. I'm a truthist. What you idiots out there don't realize is that oftentimes, I don't even want to say that, excuse me, folks. Just because you believe something is true doesn't mean that it is. I'm constantly in the process of analyzing my beliefs, analyzing what other people tell me about my beliefs. I'm trying to constantly whittle down what's not true because I don't want to hold on to bullshit. If I publicly say something that ends up being not true, I admit it, I realize it, and I move past it. But so many people have so much time and energy invested in believing everything that they think is just the absolute truth. It's ridiculous. It's doing nothing for us. We've got to realize that in order to move past our blinders, we have to be open to new information. And in order to be open to new information, we've got to be able to and willing, ladies and gentlemen, to let go of old information, to let go of old belief systems. So I've gone off on kind of a long tangent here, folks. I apologize. Some of this stuff may make sense. Some of it may not. Basically, we have an energetic field. There's various parts, such as the assemblage point. Not, how would I say this? We have an energetic cocoon around us, which all shamans will tell you is the absolute truth. I've experienced it. Hundreds of people, thousands of people have. We have an egg of energy around us that is very complicated. It's beautiful to behold. Within that overall substructure, we have various parts, such as but not limited to what's known as the assemblage point, that dictate how much of our mind and our body and our senses can interact with the full spectrum of what I like to call God. It dictates how much of the fourth and fifth dimensions we can actually see. It dictates how much of the electromagnetic spectrum we can interact with. Now, due to our current position of these parts within our energetic field, such as, again, but not limited to the assemblage point, we're only able to interact with a very small percentage of the whole. And we go our entire lives living in this very small fraction. In this small fraction that almost everyone I know, every American, every person I've ever communicated with worldwide, you name it, they're in this particular range of consciousness based on a collective positioning of the assemblage point. The Matrix wants us to keep it in one spot. Almost everyone I've met is locked into this very similar positioning. And that's why when I talk to people, and many of you guys who have had paranormal experiences, many of you who have had your assemblage point moved, you would probably agree with me when I say that when you talk to people, oftentimes every person that you talk to, it's almost like talking to the same person with subtle nuances, very subtle differences. Clearly, talking to a woman is going to be different than talking to a man. They have different voices. So do men have different voices than women? Clearly, everybody's different. So there's going to be some subtle nuances, but within the overarching picture, most people are the same because they've been mind controlled. They regurgitate the same bullshit. They're plugged into the same nonsense. The assemblage point and the Kundalini and how it moves the assemblage point showed me that all that time I had invested in thinking that there's got to be something else out there. There's got to be more to life. It showed me that it's the fucking truth. It's the absolute truth. And once I truly experienced Kundalini, I knew we were living in the Matrix, because the Matrix is a control system that seeks to keep us from interacting with the Kundalini. Kundalini is what tethers us to God, ladies and gentlemen. And with God, anything's possible. But without it, we live in fear. We live in confusion. We live in poverty. Kundalini is a royal energy. It's a godly energy. It's beautiful. It allows you to experience the full expression of your senses, the full expression of your cells, your mitochondria, the genetic material within you. It allows you to experience and see nature for what it truly is, which is a giant, living, breathing, conscious entity. It allows you to see all of the electromagnetic fields that are saturated around the trees and the animals and the other humans, our bodies. It's incredible. We have been sold a bill of goods, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time for us to start waking up. Now, the Matrix also seeks to keep people from experiencing Kundalini because within this enlightened state of consciousness, when you're actually in it, you can completely shift the course of human destiny. You can actually shift and change the course of human evolution. You can put a halt to a large extent on the evil in this world that's seeking to keep us controlled. That's why they spike the water with chlorine, chloramine compounds, heavy metals, ladies and gentlemen, algicides, cobalts, radioactive elements, disinfectant byproducts, runoff, scaling lime, inorganic calcium, radioactive constituents. I said that twice, I believe, but goddamn. Why do you think almost every food in the store is processed and filled with similar ingredients? Ingredients that, if you use your mind and do some homework and look up these ingredients and how they affect the human being, affect the human mind, affect human health, you'll realize that they're very detrimental. Heavy metals, ladies and gentlemen, in large concentrations affect the velocity. They affect our electromagnetic field. They affect our ability for these very subtle energies to move, to interact with our organs, to interact with our consciousness. So what I discovered over the years is that mind control especially is due to the positioning of our assemblage point, which, if you're interested in learning more about this, you really do need to pick up a book called The Art of Dreaming by Carlos Castaneda. The assemblage point is huge here, folks. And it's a very complicated subject. I don't wish to get into the nitty-gritty and the details about it. I try to keep things very simple. Excuse me. It's much more than that. The assemblage point is just not the whole piece to the puzzle, but it's a large piece. Our entire electromagnetic auric makeup has a lot to do with mind control, because our aura interacts with what's known as the God grid, and based on the information that we pull into our system through the God grid, through our electromagnetic filters, such as, again, but not limited to, the assemblage point, that dictates how much of the truth we can actually decode and see and interact with. You see, the controllers, the archons, they understand the secrets of the absolute. They know you better than you know. They know you better than you know yourself. They know how to take your body and your mind out of balance. They're not stupid. And they've successfully taken your body and your mind out of balance. They've, greatly malnourished humanity. They've taken your minerals out of alignment. They've taken your enzymes. It's just insane. And we've all participated with it. I don't like to blame the archons for everything. Human beings are the true ones to blame here, because we have all of the mental faculties and all of the inner instincts to know that something's wrong here and that we shouldn't be living the lives that we're living. Yet people side with the beast. People side with the great enemy because it makes it a little bit easier to get through life, to have the, the comfort saturation of the evil one. Just go back to sleep and stay plugged in, and, the evil one will look the other way at you. He won't make your life hell. He won't try to throw roadblocks in the way. The cowardice and the foolishness and the self-centeredness and the typical folk is disgusting. And I have no problem saying that. And sure, there's great people out there. But look at what's happening with this whole COVID-19 nonsense. Look at the rioting and the fear porn and the panic buying and the people one-upping one another, and just like the amount of fear that I can smell on people during this crisis, quote unquote, please, is ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And it further solidifies the deep understanding that, there probably will never be a spiritual renaissance in the next 100 years, 200 years, if we even make it that far. People are too stupid. People are absolutely stupid. And I have no problem saying that, because it's the truth. And I'm not going to get on here and try to, be all mamby-pamby and say that, it's all about letting people go at their own speed and accepting everybody and, all this nonsense. There's 50 genders and all this bullshit, and that late-term abortions are good. You've got to just accept everybody for who they are, and this. Get out of here. The values of this country are going down the drain. And people think it's the greatest thing ever. People love their enslavement. They love that unconscious thrill of siding with the enemy and the false power that it temporarily gives you. You don't have power. You don't know what power is. True power comes from God. True power moves through the human body through the Kundalini energy, which is just a fancy term to express how God energy or life force moves through the electrical pathways of the cerebral spinal system, the nerve channels, the nadis, excuse me. There are 3 primary channels that the Kundalini moves through. These are known as the Sushumna, the the Ida and the Pingala. These are pathways that the energy moves through. But there are hundreds of thousands of other channels that this energy moves through as well, folks. Regardless of what people want to tell you, these yoga teachers who, I'm not going to get into mainstream yoga because it's bullshit. But there are hundreds of thousands of energetic conduits or points on our physical body and within us, in our glands, in our organs, in our liver, in our tissues, that siphon in life force energy from the world around us, from God. We are a vampire of sorts, ladies and gentlemen. And you can look at that as a bad thing, or you can look at it as a good thing. And what I don't mean to say, many people are vampires. They're a negative vampire, They take more and they give nothing back. But human beings, ladies and gentlemen, like most organisms, require a symbiotic connection to the world around us. We need to take energy from food. We need to take in energy from the world around us in the form of breath. This is all an exchange, ladies and gentlemen. We are a vampiric species. It's time to realize that, accept it, and become an enlightened vampire, ladies and gentlemen. A vampire is an organism that feeds off the life force of another organism. We all do that. Plants do it as well. They take energy from the sun through photosynthesis and create energy. Our skin creates energy, creates the, what am I saying? It creates the hormone, but vitamin D, which is actually a hormone. Our skin produces energy when it touches and gets kissed by the beautiful energy of the giant archangel up in the sky, which is the sun. Every time we sit down to eat food, we are doing so to sustain life, to reanimate our tissues, to reanimate our minds, to reinvigorate our protoplasm, our organs, our glands, etc., with the life force which is contained within the object that we're consuming. This body is so miraculous that it knows how to weave energy or take energy out of pretty much whatever it consumes, as long as it's not poisonous. It's a total flexitarian of sorts, even though I hate that word. I mean, you could feed your body macaroni and cheese and it'll find something to take out of it. True intelligent people are conscious of what they're doing every time they sit down to eat. When people eat who are intelligent, they sit down and eat as if it's a prayer of sorts. This is you sitting down to fill up your gas, ladies and gentlemen, to fill up your life force. But most people, when they sit down to eat, they shovel. They don't even chew. There is a huge obesity epidemic here in the United States, especially. There are so many issues that are related to excessive eating, obesity, and eating the wrong food groups. But who gives a fuck? You've got to accept everyone for who they are, don't you? You've got to just accept don't fat shame. Just love everyone for who they are. Don't try to help your obese friend by telling them that they're not healthy because they're obese. Tell them how good they look and let them continue to kill themselves, because, hey, watching your friend that you love die of a heart attack or heart disease is a much more loving thing than trying to help them get back in shape. This country is gone. Our morals are going down the drain, ladies and gentlemen. What has happened to humanity? And I don't care if you think I sound judgmental or rude, abrasive, or brash. Because if you do think that I'm being a dick right now, it's because you have been so coddled your whole life and so programmed, but that you're triggered at everything, even information that can benefit you. Life is not just about accepting everything for what it is, folks. Life is not just about accepting everybody for their flaws. Life is about being a good human, doing the right thing behind closed doors, striving for more in life and helping others stay healthy and helping others who have less and who aren't as fortunate as you. Life is not about just accepting people because they're obese and telling them that they're beautiful. What, you want to see that person die? Do we have to go over and do you have to be reminded of all of the proof showing that excessive amounts of adipose tissue or fat on a human frame severely stresses the heart, severely dumbs down the health of the blood, puts strain on every major organ in the human being or in the human body? It also puts stress on your mind as well. Don't try to tell me that it's beautiful to be fat. You are a beautiful person regardless of how much weight you have on you, but the people, it's not a beautiful thing. It's not something that we should strive to just accept everyone for who they are. It's ridiculous. We should strive for what's healthy. And there's nothing fucking wrong with that, regardless of how triggered you may get. Grow up. We live in a nanny state. We live in a world where everybody's so triggered all the time. It's ridiculous. We have all these SJWs and all these like spoiled college kids that just think that life is all about acceptance. You got to accept people for who they are, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not going to accept someone for who they are when I love that person and want to help them and they're engaging in a lifestyle that could potentially snuff their life out short. When you love someone, you give them tough love, you help them. You help them, regardless of how much it may affect their programmed, delicate sensibilities. By helping them change, they grow stronger. Man. So we are living, ladies and gentlemen, in what I like to call a fallen state. The fallen state is a term that I grabbed from Jesse Lee Peterson, a YouTuber. And we were living in a world where we were at one point here, and now we're here. And now all of the decisions that we make down here don't have anything to do with what we were up here at one point, which is a moral-driven society. Or we were never truly here. Let's put it that way. Ancient civilizations may have been close to being up here with enlightenment and whatnot, but we're down here. We're in what I like to call, and it's something that I coined, the land of the bottom feeder. We live with the shit-eater bottom feeders. This is the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Matrix. Wake up. Start nourishing your body. So I've kind of topic jumped a lot on this video, ladies and gentlemen, but this is a random rant, and I love doing these random rants. If you've made it this far in this video, thank you for watching. Please, if you've made it this far in the video, leave a comment in the comment section letting me know that you have. I'd love to see how big or long the watch retention is on these videos. Leave a comment letting me know. I would greatly appreciate it. But, excuse me. We've gone off on a handful of different subjects. This started out with a Kundalini rant. The Kundalini rant is totally relative to how we've fallen, though, and how we've lost morals, because the Kundalini energy, when we're anointed with the holy fire of the Kundalini, it means that we're on a very specific wavelength of consciousness, and that wavelength is purity. It's angelic. The human being was designed to be an angelic human. What do I mean by that? When the Kundalini energy moves through all of the 7 primary churches of God, which are the chakras, and all the chakras and all the bells are, resonating, and it awakens our electromagnetic field. It calls the angels, the seraphim. We are surrounded by them. And if this energy can stay in the head, which is the true throne of God, the emperor's seat, the pituitary and the pineal gland, these angels stay with us. They become a part of us. When a human being is truly enlightened, they walk with angels. We are designed to be human, part beast, part angel. Believe it or not. But you've fallen so far into hell, into Hades, into the underworld. You have spiritual amnesia. You've fallen into a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, and you're not even aware of the fact that you're sleeping. And you identify with all of the terms that you use to define yourself that culture has given you, this toxic culture. You've developed a huge ego. And now you are lost, even though you think that you know it all. And you will fight, kick, and scream to defend the status quo. You will fight, kick, and scream to defend your corrupted position in life. And your assemblage point conveniently has been fixed in a very detrimental position where it keeps you from ever being able to escape the grasp of your mind control, and you fucking love it. And so the wheel turns, ladies and gentlemen, and so the wheel turns. Forgive them, for they do not know, said Jesus. Forgiving people can be very difficult, especially when you open your eyes to what's actually going on here in the world. And your conditioned little nanny state, where the most important thing to you is what to post on Instagram while you're quarantined during the COVID-19 scare, you aren't aware of the truth now, are you? Posting your bullshit and spreading this cancer within the collective consciousness, never extending your awareness outside of yourself, being plugged in to the goddamn matrix consistently, constantly, everlasting. Your soul is grabbed. Some of this stuff may sound brash, may sound a little rude. I don't give a damn. The truth is the truth regardless. I'm sounding an alarm here, folks. Sounding an alarm. So the Kundalini showed me that there's much more to life than what we're being taught, than what our little teachers are telling us, and what our parents are telling us, and our grandparents. There's much more to life. We need to strive to uncover the truth. Life is a massive fucking mystery. It's a dimension. It's like a video game. It's incredible. Go on adventures, explore, experiment with the herbs, upgrade your tissues. One of the things that Kundalini taught me during my first Kundalini awakening was the importance of nutrition, and how nutrition can open up the consciousness. It can't completely, for the most part, just make you enlightened, but it will, in fact, open up your consciousness to being able to escape the stranglehold that you're currently in. It can help you move those governing or governor parts that we talked about of the electromagnetic field. It can help move these electromagnetic blocks on our system so that we can take in more information from the electromagnetic spectrum. I know that may sound crazy, but real food not only feeds the body, ladies and gentlemen, it feeds the consciousness, it feeds the mind, it helps you remove barriers that are no longer productive to your growth, to your expansion, to your awakening, to you becoming more intelligent. Food will help you gain superhuman reflexes if you eat the right foods, if you take the medicinal mushrooms. And I'm not talking about psilocybin mushrooms, although those are incredibly interesting. I'm talking, ladies and gentlemen, about food grade mushrooms like the chaga, which is incredibly high in zinc and melanin. I'm talking about with the medicinal mushrooms like the cordyceps and the reishi. Chaga is considered the king of mushrooms and reishi is considered the queen. I'm talking about the maitake and the lion's mane and the turkey tail. Turkey tail is especially important to consume. It works on your digestive system. It clears poisons out of your tissues. It's got massive amounts of immune enhancing constituents. Doublewood Supplements, one of my favorite supplement companies, has an amazing turkey tail product. I have it on my Amazon store that you can buy directly from me, or you can find it directly in the link below. You can buy it from them, their .com, or from Amazon with 2-day shipping. There are so many natural foods out there that can help us become more human, that can help us detoxify years of junk within our systems. It's amazing how much shit the average person carries. And I mean that quite literally, both mental shit and physical shit. Someone very close to me became very interested in detoxing, colon cleansing, after months of me telling this person that it was a very real thing, that I had removed massive amounts of waste from my system. This person became exceptionally interested. Had a lot of doubts as well. But I put this person on the protocol. It was a protocol of black seed oil and a few other constituents. And after about a month and a half of taking black seed oil, and these other constituents, the garbage started to unload from this person's system. And this individual, not going to name their name, has eliminated well over 30 pounds of impacted fecal matter, waste, you name it. This person was shocked. You see, it's easy to take what I say for granted as a viewer, because oftentimes these things are very outside of the scope of what most people think is possible. People think, oh, there's no way I have parasites, bro. There's no way I'm holding on to all this poop. Oh my God. I believe that it's not the truth, so therefore it is. Oh my God, he's such a sensationalist. He's so full of shit. Yeah, well, try it. Try it. What do you have to lose by trying it? I've put together multiple protocols for detox in the past. If you guys are interested, I can talk about the whole black seed oil protocol in the near future, but I'm not going to do that unless I hear back from some people who are watching these videos. Some information I'm just going to withhold unless I feel that you guys are interested. So if you are, please leave some comments in the comment section below. The overarching theme of this video was to try to say that there's much more, for me to try to express the fact that there's much more to life than what we're currently being told. We are not these little insignificant bitches who are just the byproduct of, just chaos, which is what, the whole Big Bang Theory and all this other nonsense wants to teach you. Bear with me, folks. All right, guys, apologies for that. My dog was crying and I didn't know what was wrong with her. There's something going on with her foot. But where are we? We're at 50 minutes. I've got to wrap this one up. I don't have much more time. I want to say that there's much more to life than what we're being told. Never believe something never believe something's impossible just because some motherfucker tells you that it's impossible. Who are they to be like the jurisdiction on what's right and wrong, or what's possible in life? So many of these idiots out here who are telling us that it's impossible to do things or that enlightenment isn't real are individuals who just are totally lost in life, and lost people don't have the right to try to give directions. Make your own decisions. Make your own decisions, folks. Go into your inner temple and do the inner temple exercise that I talk about so often on my Patreon page. Links are in the description box below. Become a member for as little as $5 a month and gain access to hundreds of hours of content. Don't let other people be your God. Be your own intelligent individual. Develop your own relationship with God. I want to wrap this one up by saying, feed your head, just like that song. One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small, or however it goes. In that song, it says feed your head. You can feed your head. I'm not telling you to go feed your head magic mushrooms like that song says. I'm talking about modulate your diet. I'm going to put together a protocol. I already have. I've been following this for a very long time, and I've put it together, and I've shared it with my patrons on my Patreon page, but I'm going to be releasing on my holyhealing.weebly.com probably within the next week or two the protocol that I follow. Anyone can follow it. You pretty much, as a foundation, you just have to eat 70% of your diet whole foods. Whether you're a vegan, a vegetarian, whether you eat meat, just eat 70% of your diet real food. Foods that are nourishing, foods that God made, what God created. And 30% of your diet can pretty much be whatever the fuck you want to eat. But you have to make sure that 70% of your diet is whole food, and you have to make sure to be supplementing with the minerals, the micronutrients. I'm going to lay it all out for you guys. Ideally, you want to make it so at about 90% of the food that you eat is whole foods, but a lot of people can't get there. But everyone can make 70% of their diet real food, and 30% the rest, whatever they want. That's easy. I know that may sound kind of contradictory to someone who promotes health, but you've got to be able to stay sane in this matrix. There's enough stress, and you trying to let go of every single food group that you've ever loved is ridiculous. You're going to flip-flop. You're going to yo-yo. You need to be able to have some things that you like. I'm going to wrap this one up, ladies and gentlemen. Research the assemblage point. Check out my videos. Keep watching. Keep leaving comments. I love hearing from my subscribers. I'm going to be reviewing this product in just a couple of days. This is Symbiotica D3, ladies and gentlemen, K2 and CoQ10. I wish my fucking camera would pick that up. Bear with me, folks. This $90 or $70 camera doesn't work worth a shit. Symbiotica. This is one of the greatest game-changing products I have ever put into my system. This is a total evolution food. Symbiotica D3K2 plus CoQ10, folks. 30 servings. This stuff tastes incredible. Look at the color of this. It tastes like orange creamsicle. It's vegan. It's keto. It's got vitamin D3 from lichen. It's got vitamin A, beta carotene, vitamin K2, MK7, menaquinone 7. It's got vitamin K2, MK4. It's got selenium, CoQ10 in the ubiquinol form in a liposomal matrix. It's got some vitamin E in here as well. Take this for 30 days and watch what happens to your brain. Watch what happens to your life. Take it in tandem with 1 drop of the symbiotic coated silver every day and a little bit of the pure black shilajit. Boom! You are going to become something different. We all have the ability to pleomorph. We all have the ability to metamorphosize ourselves. We can all become a new version of ourselves, just like the snake sheds its skin, just like the tarantula molts. We can leave behind the old self and become the new through our actions, through our prayer, through our connection with God, through our devotion to the divine, through what we put into our systems. Consume the medicinal mushrooms, the reishi, the shaga. I've got about 4 ounces of Canadian shaga coming in the mail today. I'm going to brew a big old batch of it and drink it throughout this weekend. Well, I stay steadfast with my prayer as I continue to do the grounding, as I continue to drink the clean water, as I continue to pour libations for the Mother Earth, as I continue to reach my arms out into the unknown and try to embrace the excuse me. I don't want to get too preachy here, ladies and gentlemen, but spirituality and a path in life is it's a very important thing. Read some spiritual books. Get yourself back on track. Let go of the is desperity the right word? No. Get rid of the desperation. So many of us are living in fear, especially right now with this whole COVID-19 nonsense. I'm not saying that it's not real, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm highly suspicious as to what's actually going on with this whole coronavirus thing. That's just my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. I have to say this because if I don't say it's an opinion, some people might get upset. And because due to the fact that we live in the land of the triggered and the home of the moron, everybody wants to get so sensitive about everything. And God forbid you think abortion is wrong, and God forbid this and that. We'll talk more about it in the near future, ladies and gentlemen. I want to wrap this one up by saying I love you. Another great product is K-Pax Immune. That's part of my health protocol that I've put together. K-Pax Immune is a pharmaceutical, pretty much grade multivitamin, multimineral, and mitochondrial matrix that supports the overall health of the cell by stimulating, reawakening, and reinvigorating the strength and energy output of the mitochondria. The mitochondria, in layman's terms, is the energy house, or it's the engine of the cell. Most people have mitochondrial energetic depletion, MED. They have mitochondrial energetic depletion. You can see it in people's eyes. You can see it especially within people's reflexes. If you have slow reflexes, there's a good chance it's because of the fact that your cells are coagulated. They're not functioning properly. The actual engine of your cell needs to be reawakened, reinvigorated, and you use things like coenzyme Q10, alpha-lipoic acid, N-acetylcysteine, N-acetylcarnitine. There's a handful of different things that you can use to awaken the mitochondria. So, K-Pax Immune in tandem with a gram of DHA, and then 70% of your diet, real food. 8 pumps of this a day if you're an adult. What the fuck, dude? A drop of coated silver. There's a good close-up. Symbiotica D3 K2 plus CoQ10. Let's all evolve, ladies and gentlemen. We are the alchemists. We have the ability to reawaken our electromagnetic fields and become something much greater than what we currently are. I'm going to continue to say this because it's the absolute fucking truth. And in a world where you're being conditioned to be an idiot, a useful idiot for the system, I'm going to continue to get on here and regurgitate and rehash my opinions. This is the coated silver I was telling you about. Symbiotica coated silver, just 1 drop a day. This is a perfect silver bullet antidote for these crazy times that we're living in. Pause right now and read that. I wish my camera would focus. Symbiotica.com. Awesome stuff. Follow me on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. Follow me on Facebook. Check out my website, holyhealing.weebly.com. I haven't updated it in about 5 days, but I'm going to update it this weekend with new videos, new articles, new options, you name it. And last but not least, If you enjoy my content and you have some spare change laying around that you were looking to donate somewhere and you need a great place to donate, every penny counts, ladies and gentlemen. I am in a current position where my finances are totally hectic and unpredictable right now. So if for some reason you do need somewhere to donate to and you don't know where, the Sacred Serpent Kundalini Awareness program would be a great place to do that, because it really does help my life. It puts food on the table, keeps the light on, keeps the bills paid, ladies and gentlemen, and allows me to have free time to continue spreading my message. It allows me the free time to continue to broadcast my pirate signal and hack into the matrix in hope of waking people up out of their slumber and helping them find their path in life, which of course is a path and a connection to God. Peace be with you, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of your health.